Okay, you're in the spotlight from Michigan and Colorado. We have Leah and Dorothy here with Broth Masters. Welcome to the spotlight. So we're talking bone broth today. Okay, bone broth is something that's so good for you, that doesn't always taste great. I had some of yours, full disclosure. I absolutely loved it. You're a mother-daughter duo. That's fascinating. We're going to get into that more later because I know there are some challenges there. And Leah, if you could please tell us how all this started with Broth
Yeah,
Masters Bone Broth.
absolutely. It would be my pleasure. All this started about a little over 10 years ago or so. Um, I have two things. One, I've had Crohn's disease since I was 15 years old, and I'm also a dancer choreographer. Two totally separate things, but a lot of injuries can happen during dance, which happened to me. And with Crohn's disease, healing in the body just is much more difficult. It takes a lot longer of a time. So, about 10 years ago, I had my first ankle surgery due to a dance injury.
Mm.
And I had a really intense flare up after that, that just kind of impacted my entire life. I couldn't go out with friends. I couldn't eat out. I couldn't have a drink, just
And
basically
how old were you at that time?
I was about 29. So it was like a little
Okay.
over 10 years ago, 28,
So an
29.
age really when you should be going out and doing everything and
Yeah.
really seeing the world.
And
I
having
literally,
fun.
if she needed to walk a mile, I would have to take her in a wheelchair.
Yeah, it
That's how
Oh,
bad it was.
that is
It was
awful.
really, really rough. So I got the first ankle surgery, that kind of messed up my whole gut, everything they kind of pump into your system, in the hospital. And afterwards, we've always been a family of like kind of healing through food, also with Eastern and Western medicine. So we'll take medicine, obviously, if the doctor tells us to take it. But my mother has always been an incredible chef, and we sort of
Oh, you're
both,
so lucky.
I know, very lucky.
I
She
was the sous chef for amazing chefs through our business, but that's another story.
Yeah.
So
So
learned a lot of technique
It
and
sounds like
tricks.
we need to add an hour on to this interview to
I
all
know
of your stories.
it has many, many talents. But one of them being that I'm not such a chef. And in New York City, I was living in New York City at the time. And she was like, "Oh, you just have to go to the butcher and get all these different bones and put them in a pot and cook it for 48 hours." And I was like, I barely liked touching chicken meat at that time, let alone going and getting like all these different types of bones that I would have to
Yeah.
deal with. So I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to do that. And she was like, you know what? I will make this and I'm going to overnight it to you to New York from Michigan. And at that
Wow.
time, we didn't have our shipping down or how to ship frozen.
Actually, I just want to interject a moment because I was a vegetarian with pet chickens, did not ever imagine myself knee deep in bones. So you do what you need to do to save your child. Should have. So I was asking everyone, someone put me in touch with a food scientist, and he had two grants, one for foods with that were with for anti-inflammatory foods for gastrointestinal problems,
Mhm.
and the other one was foods with collagen. And he literally walked me through the production. Just 2 years ago, all of a sudden, my supplier of my pasture chicken bones, he said they're not doing it anymore. I'm like, oh my God. And so then what actually happened was I saw the name of the farm on the box. So I called them to ask, do you know anybody who does it? And they said, we didn't cancel them, they canceled us. And now I have a direct connection. I know the farmer, I know where my meat comes from, I know who they are, I trust them. It's not like I'm just buying it, I don't know, internationally, it's coming from China or something.
Mhm.
We know who our farmers are. And so sourcing the bones in the quantities that we need was a challenge and scary. Actually checked the collagen in our broth at 12 hours, 24 hours, and 48 hours. And I'm telling you, every time I do, it's richer and richer and richer. So, yes, it does all make a difference. And we're committed to that. We're committed to staying a real food product.
And
And I
Leah, how do you, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add on top of that because your original question was, where do we see the company growing and growth? And, something that we're really excited and proud about is that we were always renting commercial kitchen space from other people, and we lost our commercial kitchen space for a while and those stressors, and we finally opened our own commercial kitchen space in Michigan.
Oh, wow.
So now
Congratulations.
now this is how, we want to start expanding, is being able to just be in there whenever we need to be in there. We're shipping out of there. We just have a more streamlined process having this ourselves. And I think next steps are, sort of starting to teach other people how to make our broth the way that my mother does it, just because one person doing it is really challenging to grow. But we are figuring that stuff out and sort of branching out to different acupuncturists and yoga studios. And we have people that want to just, buy the broth from us to have like broth bars. So we have a few different
Hot
uh,
bars. Wow.
yeah, that's a new thing,
wow.
We also have there's a new business in Michigan that also opened up for postpartum women just having babies that can bring their babies, and the first thing that they do is give our broth to all the new moms, and then they can purchase our broth there as well. So we have different, kind of collaborations that we're working on now outside of just the people that, order our broth to be shipped to their homes all around the country.
So, what would you tell someone, Leah, especially because you were very young when you started all of this.
Yeah.
And if someone, around the age of 25, 30 has an idea and they just don't know where to start, what's your best advice?
Start a company.
Mhm. They
My
have
best
something, some sort of idea or innovation, and
yeah.
they just don't know where to start.
Yeah, I guess my best advice would be just don't be afraid of actually moving forward with any type of plan. So, I've done this in a few areas of my life. Like I'm a dancer choreographer, obviously, like that is kind of business you have to find yourself. But then I also became a Pilates instructor, and at some point in my apartment in New York, I decided to have a Pilates studio in my second bedroom and start another business for Pilates clients out of there.
You
So
like to keep busy.
yeah. And I think it's just like not being afraid to maybe spend a little bit of your own money if you have it. Like I had to buy a Pilates machine. It was, $2,000. It wasn't a crazy amount to have this thing to then see if I could maybe, make way more and pay that back.
Right.
And, I just start putting myself out there and talking to people. I think that just talking to people about what your idea is, like my mother started talking to her friend, like we want to get, a commercial kitchen space. And then all of a sudden, voila, here's a
Yeah.
job for you for this, this. I think the universe works in mysterious ways like that. And I
Which
think
is
if you're passionate
magic.
about something and you really like care about it, like somehow, some way, it will come together as long as you just move forward and
Oh,
try.
you are wise beyond your years. Dorothy, you should be so proud.
I
Get
am.
your website in, and where we can find you on social.
Yeah. Our website is brothmasters.com with an S at the end. So we're two people. We're both broth masters. And so you can find us at brothmasters.com. We ship nationwide, and we're on Instagram and Facebook as at brothmasters as well.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. You're in the spotlight, and we are so proud of everything that you've done.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so much for having me.
you. Thanks
Absolutely.
for